Hi, this is Professor Hazara, and this is the second video on estimating inventory. I'm just covering the concept in these two methods, the gross profit method and the retail method. Um, there's a lot of variations on them, some of which are important and which are not. But the gross profit method is more financial statement analysis than anything else. And in a sense, the retail method is too, but it's the basic retail method is probably used more than some of its variations, like dollar value retail, which a lot of people say they didn't even use. But it is this retail method is used. So I'm going to go over the logic of it. And once again, the logic of it is based on the basic formula for calculating cost of goods sold, which I went over in the first video, and then which you remember from Accounting 201. And so this uses two pieces of information, two pieces of logic to calculate and estimate not only ending inventory, but ending cost of goods sold. This is a method which can use both. It uses the formula for calculating cost of goods sold. We work it backwards again, basically, just like in the gross profit method. But also, given that retailers use this and they have nice information on their retail prices and the cost they paid for inventory, then use that information too. Okay, so I'm going to just go through a simple example of the logic. And when you extend it out, it's just you just modify certain things, but the logic stays the same. Okay, so let's say the ABC company has the following from the data, and what they're trying to do is data from the following year, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to calculate maybe cost of goods sold and ending inventory from data. And retailers do this as a matter of course. It's nice to come up with your inventory and have some number to compare it against. Use logic to compare against the actual amounts that you're counting in the stores. It's not a bad idea. Okay, so let's say that their records show that the cost of their inventory, of their beginning inventory, is $600,000. That's the cost. And let's say that they know that at retail they can sell this inventory for, let's say, $1 million. Let's make sure we get 1 million there. Okay, and so that's we're notice that we're working towards goods available for sale again, but we're going to calculate at cost and at retail. So goods available for sale is beginning inventory plus purchases. Now they should know the purchases of their inventory, and so let's say they purchased $400,000 of inventory this year, and let's say that at retail those purchases were, the prices change, whatever, so the ratio isn't exactly equal to the ratio that it was in the beginning inventory, but let's say that's worth 600,000. Okay, so here's your cost of goods sold at cost, and here's your cost of goods. What am I saying? Your goods available for sale at cost, and your goods available for sale at retail. Okay, now the most important piece of data in this method is the cost to retail ratio in the goods available for sale. Because once you have that ratio, and you can apply it to different pieces of information to back out the cost of your inventory and even your cost of goods sold. Okay, so if we divide 1 million, which is the cost of what you pay, by retail, your cost to retail ratio of cost of goods available for sale is about 62.5%. Okay, now we've got right here in this column here, everything in this column, and I'll go ahead and center these two and even put them in red. You've got everything in this column is at retail, but you've got your cost of goods sold, your goods available for sale at retail. So, and you should have in your records, there's three things you should have in your records: your beginning inventory, your purchases, and I think the easiest part would be your sales, because that's inventory that you transacted, that you sold to third parties. So there's sort of that independent verification. So let's say your sales at retail were you sold $1,200,000 of merchandise. Okay, and so that means that at retail, I'll get this number here. It'll be 1,200,000. And and we'll put a minus there. So your goods available for sale at retailer were 1.6 million. You know that you sold 1.2 million. So logically speaking, if you could have sold at retail 1.6 million, and you know you did sell 1.2 million, and that should be a pretty good record to have. That means that your ending inventory at retail is going to be what you could have sold, uh, less what you did sell. So your ending inventory at retail was 400,000. Now from this 400,000, that's at retail, you can back out the gross profit that's buried in that inventory because that's at retail. You can back out the gross profit, and then you can also calculate from that gross profit, if you back out the gross profit, get the cost of the ending inventory, and then you can also, and then you can just calculate the cost of goods sold from the cost data. Okay, so let's do this. If we take this 400,000 right here times our cost to retail, we get an estimated ending inventory at cost of 250,000, and I'm going to put a minus sign in there. So now we're back in the cost column. The cost column says your beginning inventory was 600,000 at cost. Your purchases at cost were 400,000. So your goods available for sale were 1 million. Now we have estimated from our retail column and using our historical, based on our own knowledge of the company, 62.5% cost to retail. Now since we've estimated the ending inventory cost, the only thing we have to do to get cost of goods sold is take this 1 million and subtract out the 250. So our estimated cost of goods sold is 750. So this method can be used for estimating both ending inventory and cost of goods sold, and it really is all based on your knowledge of, well, you have the records. You should have the record of beginning inventory and purchases, and your knowledge of the cost to retail. Basically, how much gross profit would be the difference between gross profit, in essence, cost to retail ratio, which in this case was 62.5%. Once you have that, if you have your sales data, which should be, to me, that's the easiest part, records you have, because you're transacting that with third parties, then you could just back out your inventory at retail, your inventory at cost, and your cost of goods sold. Okay, and keep in mind that this number is key. Once you have your inventory at retail, you get your ending inventory cost, and there's your cost of goods sold, which is the difference between your goods available for sale and your ending inventory. Once again, to go back to the logic, you could have sold at cost 1 million. You did not sell 250, so you did sell 750. Okay, I'll put this video up, and that's it.